Hello, and welcome to the Keys to Good Food. I'm Jane Key, dietitian and chef with Kettering Health Network. The goal of this series is to provide food preparation videos right here from my home kitchen. The series is called The Keys to Good Food. I want to show you how easy it is to make simple and tasty recipes that are not only good for your health, but that your family and friends will enjoy as well. So please join me as I show you how to blend the joy and art of cooking with the science of nutrition. I'm constantly learning about food, nutrition, and cooking, and I want to share this with you. Please join me on this journey. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back. Today we're going to make a vegetable sheet pan frittata. You might really say, what exactly is a frittata? Think of it as an Italian version of a baked egg, similar to an omelet, but it's either done in a skillet where you would cut it, you would start on top of the stove and then finish it in the oven. Or today we're going to simplify the process and actually make the frittata in a sheet pan. So we're going to start with a beautiful array of colorful vegetables. A sheet pan frittata is a great way to use veggies, meats, herbs, cheeses. It's an excellent company pleaser. So if you need to feed a lot of people, it's a good thing to have on hand. Those of you that are into meal prep for the week, it's a great idea because you can use it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, or even, as a brunch. So let's go ahead and get started here. And we're going to feature some seasonal vegetables. So think about, we always say that veggies that are in season, the peak of harvest, are the most nutritious from a vitamin, mineral, phytonutrient standpoint. And the phytonutrients are what help protect us from disease and promote good health. So color, color, color. A frittata is a marvelous way if you're falling short of your veggies for the day to incorporate them. So I have taken the time before to chop the vegetables. You'll see that they're in similar sizes, and that's important because we're going to bake these veggies off. So I have the red onion, and if you're not so much into red onion, you can do a white onion, a candy onion, whatever you might like. The yellow and orange peppers, tomatoes. Now let's say, for example, you don't have the grape tomatoes. Maybe you have Roma tomatoes or a garden tomato. I just made a wonderful frittata this weekend in the iron skillet and used garden tomatoes. And then zucchini. Zucchini is cut in the half moons, so everything's a similar size, so it's going to bake off. So I have chopped the veggies. We're going to put it in the sheet pan. Now we're going to put some olive oil on this, so there's really no reason to spray the pan. Some people like to use a non-aerosol. This is an avocado oil, just to help things not stick. That's fine to do if you'd like. But as I said, we're going to put some olive oil on here, so we will not worry about all that. All right, so I'm going to put the veggies on. And the idea here is in food, we're kind of creating art, I always say. So after we bake these off, I want to make sure that they are spread out, because who wants just a big bite of an onion, right? We want to get a variety of things. But for this first baking, where we're going to just do the vegetables briefly, I'm just going to spread these out in the sheet pan. This is an 11 by 8 sheet pan. Now, some of you are going to say, I don't even have one of those. Well, let me tell you what, a 13 by 9, 13 by 8 pan works great. Don't get stressed out about the little things. If you don't have these exact vegetables, then just do what you like. Remember that a recipe is simply a template, and you need to get creative, okay? So I'm going to lay these out. Now I just want to remind you that we are not roasting these. We're just baking them briefly so that they become soft. So the difference is if I was roasting them, I would not want them all to be touching, but I don't really care in this. So I'm going to take some extra virgin olive oil. This is cold pressed, expeller pressed. This is the one that has the most antioxidants and is the heart healthy kind to use. And my squirter is no longer working, so I put it in a squirt bottle. And I'm just going to do about 2 tablespoons, no reason to saturate, okay? And then I have my oven on, and I'm going to put these in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes, just till they become soft, all right? We're going to cut so I can put them in the oven, and then we'll be back and complete the frittata. So now I've taken the vegetables out of the oven after their 20 minutes of baking, just until they're tender, soft, and would be easy to eat. I'm going to take just a moment, like I said, to spread them out evenly so that we have zucchini, we have a tomato, we have an onion, and we have a pepper in most every bite so that everything is nice and equal, okay? Now, and you'll see that the tomatoes have become very soft, and if you want to take some time just to flip them over and smush them, you can do that too, but you don't have to. Just a little bit of tip. So we have a beautiful deep color, nutrient dense, and now we're going to make the body of the frittata. So I start with 6 eggs, put them into a bowl, and then I'm going to add a half a cup of milk, dairy, or dairy alternative if you prefer. Whatever works for you. Soy milk could work fine, or a nut-based milk. I have chosen to use 1%, trying to keep the idea of being heart healthy. And then to that, I'm going to add a little bit of Dijon mustard, about 1.5 teaspoons. You're going to say, why Dijon mustard? Dijon adds a beautiful depth to flavor in any egg dish. So think about that. If you're just making an omelet, or maybe a quiche, that a little bit of Dijon mustard is beautiful to just give a little depth of flavor. All right, and then I have, these are actually from my garden. So the recipe calls for Italian parsley, which this is what Italian flat leaf parsley looks like. Now, if you only would buy curly parsley, that's good, whatever. But Italian flat leaf, and I just put it on a cutting board and chop, 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 chop until it is minced. And about 1/3 of a cup or so is what you want of your Italian flat leaf. I also have basil here and thyme. When I told you I made the tomato frittata in the iron skillet, I used thyme with the tomatoes. This is an example of an herb keeper. So this is a way to keep herbs in water in your refrigerator, and you could put just a plastic bag over it. Or this is much like a salad spinner. You put the fresh herb, you wash your herbs, put them in here, and then you spin, spin, spin away, and refrigerate it, and the herbs keep beautifully for several days. So that's a thought there too. So I'm going to go ahead and add my Italian flat leaf parsley. And then the recipe calls for oregano. Now, some people grow oregano in their garden, and some people want to use dried. So you have to remember, if you use dried spice or a dried herb of any sort, you use less of the dried herb, more of the fresh. So, and it's about 3 times more. So this is a teaspoon of oregano, but if I was going to use garden fresh oregano, I would use a tablespoon, and once again, chop it up. So oregano goes in here, all right? Then, those of you, you know I love my rechargeable pepper grinder. Fresh ground pepper is by far the healthiest way to consume your pepper. Pepper that's already ground and bought in the package doesn't have nearly the nutritional value of fresh ground pepper. So I have a teaspoon of the fresh ground pepper right here. If you don't have a fancy pepper grinder, it's okay. Some people don't. I'm okay about that. I just kind of have fun with this one. All right, so we're going to mix, 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 mix here with a whisk, preferably. So keep in mind, in here I have the eggs, the milk, the Dijon, the black pepper, oregano, dried or fresh, and then the 1/3 of a cup of fresh chopped parsley. All right, so we're going to incorporate this all together. And then I'm going to switch this out for 1 second and show you my next step in my little sheet pan is I have a cup of spinach that I just rough chopped. Now, you saw how finely I chopped the herbs. Spinach is just a rough chop because it's much more tender and it's going to bake right in. Once again, kind of spread it out so we're equal opportunity. The whole pan gets some of the fresh chopped spinach. And you might say to me, well, that kind of looks like a kind of a small sheet pan. And what if I was going to have guests and needed more? Then what you could do is just double your recipe and then use a larger sheet pan. Sheet pans come in all different sizes. I have one that is double this. So that's what I would do, is just double the recipe. And then I could feed a lot of guests. And this is as I mentioned, a real crowd pleaser. You can serve it with a little piece of toast, a little mixed fruit, and have a lovely breakfast. All right, and then on top of that, I'm going with feta. Now, this is feta cheese. Feta cheese has a bolder flavor, so we use less of it. And you might wonder why in this egg dish there was no salt. It's because anytime you use a cheese, you get sodium from that. So we're just going to let the sodium from the feta carry the flavor there. And we're going to spread this out so it all looks pretty. So we have a build of flavors here. Now, one thing you can do, some people are like, whoa, it looks pretty green. You can stir this up a little bit to create a little, bring the veggies up and some of the spinach down. Or you don't have to do that. That's just an idea as well. But once again, we want to be sure everybody gets a little bit of feta, even out to the corners. So that's looking pretty good, I think. Keep in mind, you could change your herbs out. You could change your cheese out. You could change your vegetables out. This is like an artist's palette. You can kind of just do whatever colors you want to do. All right, so I've got that all done. And then I'm going to just give the eggs a final little whip. Get it all going. And I kind of was curious here. I'm not thinking this bowl is going to pour so well. So I'm going to make this a little easier for pouring. Okay. And then we want to take our egg mixture and we're going to just, like you're pouring it on, out to your edges. You see what the sheet pan frittata accomplishes that a frittata in a skillet does not, is the whole process is in the oven. If you use an iron skillet or another oven-safe skillet, you start on the stovetop and then you move it to the oven. So there's another step in there, okay? Now I've got a little spinach that's poking its head up, so I want to be sure it's down in the egg mixture. Okay, and you see, isn't that pretty? Okay, so what we're going to do now is put this back in the 350 oven until it sets. It'll take about 30 minutes. So I'm going to take this over to the stove, put it in there, let it bake until it sets. And we'll talk about how we know when it's ready, when we're bringing it out of the stove or out of the oven. Okay? All right, so I'm going to move to the oven and we'll be right back with you. So we're back with the frittata coming out of the oven. And as you can see, it has congealed. That's the whole idea with the eggs, is to have it congeal. You can temperature test your eggs, which is a safe way to make sure that they're cooked appropriately, to 160 degrees. So you would just stick the thermometer in on the angle until make sure that it's up to 160. The reason you don't want to poke it in straight in is because guess what? Then you're testing the temperature of the pan, right? So you want to test the temperature of the product. 160 is appropriate for a baked egg dish for food safety, all right? So you see we have the pretty colors. I'm going to take a bench scraper. If you don't have one of these, then that's okay. It's also called a pastry tool. You can use a knife, all right? Remember, we're trying to be very flexible. The idea here in a half sheet pan is 6 servings per sheet pan. So 3 times 2 gives you 6. All right, so I'm gonna loosen up the edges here. This just makes it a little easier, but you know, a knife works beautifully as well. Take my spatula, and then I'm going to simply take it out of the pan, position it on the plate so that it looks pretty. And you see that I have garnished it as a little toast with it, garnish, and then your frittata. Now, this would be appropriate like for breakfast or brunch, and you could even add a fruit salad to it, like I mentioned before. Or let's say you want to pack some lunches for the week. You can make a sheet pan frittata and then put it like on ciabatta or some sort of whole wheat bread for the week. It also could be cubed up, put on a salad. So that's another idea for service. Or take a wrap, a spinach wrap, tortilla wrap, and you could just chunk this up and put it with some salsa or lettuce or whatever speaks to you. But this is just a great way to have the protein from the eggs and then the fruits, the vegetables that give the fiber and the vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients as we talked about. Cheese gives a little bit of flavor. And then your herbs, fresh or garden herbs are great too. So think about different options here. Asparagus in the spring is beautiful. Maybe you're into the Mediterranean, so you know, artichoke hearts, mushrooms, whatever. The sky's the limit. So think about making a sheet pan frittata for easing your week, enjoying it. And until we meet again, eat well and be well.